Special investigation. Is the wrong man in jail for shooting the Eggman? 14 years ago, a 35-year-old egg delivery man, Charles Haig, was shot and killed on this North Philadelphia street. 28-year-old Ronnie Brinkley says he did it.
Who shot him?
Well, I had the gun that shot him.
Did you pull the trigger?
I didn't pull the trigger, the gun went off.
But for the past 15 years, Ronnie's been a free man, living with his family. A family that says knowledge of what really happened back then is tearing them apart. That's because while Ronnie is free, his older brother Kevin is in prison in Pittsburgh, serving a life term for the shooting.
Did you kill the Eggman?
No.
Do you think that your brother killed the Eggman?
Yeah.
But the former assistant district attorney who prosecuted the case remains convinced that the right man is in jail.
I've reviewed the transcript and the police report, and I'm as convinced as I was the day this case went to the jury and the day they returned their verdict that Kevin Brinkley was guilty of executing that Eggman.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Wally Kennedy, and this is a special AM Philadelphia investigation.
And I'm Elizabeth Starr. The story you're about to hear is, in some ways, the story of one family. A family that came to our studios in an effort to right what they say is a wrong.
In other ways, this is also the story of the justice system. For good or for bad, it's a system that can have a profound effect on the lives of people it touches. Lives of people like 29-year-old Kevin Brinkley, who was convicted 14 years ago of killing the Eggman.
For the past 4 years, Kevin Brinkley's home has been this foreboding stone building along one of Pittsburgh's three rivers. This is the State Correctional Institution at Pittsburgh, where Kevin was transferred after nearly 11 years at Camp Hill. AM Philadelphia producer Amy Weiland-Buckman traveled to Pittsburgh to speak with Kevin, who's maintained his innocence from the very beginning.
I was home asleep. I was in bed. I didn't get up to around 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the afternoon. When I did get up, I heard people downstairs talking, right?
Kevin says he learned of the shooting from people on the street who also told him that his brother Ronnie was involved. Despite his lack of knowledge, Kevin says police began questioning him the next day, asking him if he knew who pulled the trigger.
I told him that I ain't knew nothing about it, and I said I refused to speak till I see my mother. So when my mother came down, she came in and she said why? So I said, look, I ain't do it, but I knew who did it.
As you can imagine, one son telling his mother that her other son is a killer is a heart-rending situation. It was for the Brinkleys.
I'm saying I wouldn't have never did it, right? I'm saying if she wouldn't have never broke down and cried.
I know that Ronnie did commit the crime. And I know that I have a son that's in prison that has done wasted his life for 14 years, okay? And he's innocent, okay? So I could even dealt with Ronnie going to jail at that time because he did commit the crime, okay? So I can't say that I'm going to feel, because my son committed that crime. Don't make me feel any less love for Ronald as it did Kevin, because they both are my children, and I love each and every one of them equally.
We did have a closeness in our family before this came about, and it broke us up. You know, the family has never been the same since then.
Kevin cannot he cannot understand why he's in there. It's not like you have someone who did it, and you got to find out who did it. You know, you have someone who has been saying to the system, you have the wrong person. You know, and he can't understand that. He's not bitter, but he's more or less in shock. Why ain't nobody doing anything when everybody, even in the prison system, know that Kevin did not commit this crime?
When he was taken into the roundhouse for questioning, Kevin says he volunteered to take a lie detector test, but he was never given one. His brother Ronnie, who says he was the shooter, did take a lie detector test back then, but police investigators say the results were inconclusive. So after all these years, how do these brothers, each secure in his own story of the crime, one a free man and one a convicted murderer, feel about each other?
My brother's not the one that did it, so why should I sit around, you know, and let my brother do time for something that he didn't do? So it's my duty, you know what I mean, to step forward, you know what I mean, and speak up. When I did that, You know what I mean? Nobody wanted to believe me.
He did. I'm saying he did his job. I'm saying when he first learned of my arrest, right? He came forward and told the cops that that they had the wrong person, but they refused to believe him.
What kind of relationship do you have with Kevin now?
I love my brother.
Do you see him?
I talked to him. I seen him when he was up Camp Hill. As often as I can.
How often does this come up?
Well, since that it happens, you know what I mean, it comes up, you know what I mean, I think about it, you know what I mean, often. Okay, but I try to hold myself, you know what I mean, you know, life do go on.
He feels as though I'm doing time for something he did, right? Other than that, I'm saying if it was anybody else, I don't think he would have, you know what I mean, I don't think he would have came forward. You know what I mean, he only did it, I'm saying, out of the love he had for me. So, as a result of that, I'm saying, he's suffering.
So, according to the family, this is a story of brotherly love and a confession meant to bring justice where there has been none. But according to the man who prosecuted Kevin Brinkley, justice was done 14 years ago, and he says nothing has changed.
Are you still convinced that Kevin Brinkley killed the Eggman?
Absolutely.
Coming up, more from former prosecutor Gerald Dugan.
Plus the story of this crime's real victim. I will have an interview with the Eggman's sister.